Hello and welcome to Who Are You, the Bobcats you know, the stories you don't. I'm your host, Joel Vanner, inside the podcast studio at Quinnipiac University School of Communications, and I'm joined today by my guest, Shianne Taylor. Shianne, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here. Shianne, I ask my guests the same first question every time, and that question is, tell me, who are you?
Who am I?
It's a deep question.
Well, my name is Shianne Taylor, and I'm a 3L at Quinnipiac University School of Law. I'm from Oklahoma, and I'm here just on my career path to becoming an attorney.
Well, awesome. Let's unpack your path. Before we talk about career in Quinnipiac School of Law, did you always think you were going to be a lawyer growing up? Growing up, what were you like? Tell me. Where are we?
All right, where are we? So no, the short answer is no. I did not always think I was going to be a lawyer. I was born in Kansas, and from a young age, like my parents always wanted us to try new things, but we lived in a small town and there was not much going on there. And so, whether it was, going to see sports with my siblings, the things we did as a family was go to the movies. And so a lot of the times when we went to the movies, like my dad would kind of like talk to us during the movie to kind of help us like analyze it and see where it was going next. And so from there, I started picking up the skill of learning to analyze movies and kind of predict where they were going to go.
What was your favorite movie you saw with your dad?
My favorite movie I saw with my dad? Wow, we've seen so many. I would have to say Planet of the Apes, the one with Mark Wahlberg in it. Okay. I was really young when that came out, but
okay, Mark Wahlberg, New England represent. So
there we go.
Anyway, so going back, you learned to analyze movies and kind of predict where they were going. Did that lead to a career interest for you?
Yes. So from there, I kind of had this idea ever since I was little that I was going to be a critic of what? I didn't really know, but a movie critic seemed like it flowed. And so from there, I kind of always had this passion of like media and things like that. So I went to school for communications with an emphasis in public relations. And so in there, I got a lot of training with working in media and like how to write speeches and things like that. And that really kind of sparked my passion for, creating content and working in media.
And you also were an athlete on the track team when you were in college as well.
Yes.
Where did law school and the law field come into play for you? At what moment were you like, I have this communications experience, but actually law school is maybe where I want to go?
Yes. So I was getting ready to graduate college a semester early. And so I started thinking in my junior year, like, what's next? I didn't know if I wanted to go to grad school and continue running track because I was leaving. And so me and my dad started having these kinds of conversations, kind of just, seeing what I wanted to do, whether I needed an internship that summer to like spark me into a job after graduation. And so the plan really was to go back to school, but it was a question of what I was going to do. And he kind of mentioned, how about law school? And so from there, I kind of started looking into it more about kind of like what you do in law school, honestly, what an attorney is.
Sure. It's not what you see on TV. Like, what's the real life?
That.
Right?
Yes. And so I also had a minor in political science. And so it was kind of like I knew that a career in policy was also a path. And so from there, one of my friends on my track team, he also was going to go to law school at the time. And so he helped me just kind of like guide me in what I needed to do next, as in like taking the LSAT and like when I should take the LSAT and things like that.
So he kind of introduced you to the idea of actually going through the motions to get into law school with the LSAT. Where did Quinnipiac Law come in? How did that pop up on your radar? Because right now we're in Oklahoma, right? So
yes.
Where did Quinnipiac Law come into play for you?
So Quinnipiac came into play because I knew that I always wanted to be on the East Coast. And so I just, started looking at schools on the East Coast. Yes, there are a lot of schools on the East Coast, but Connecticut was one of those places in my head that I've always wanted to go to, like don't really know why, but it popped in my head one day and it kind of stuck. So my freshman year of college, we have like, your introduction to life class, and they made you like sit down and see like, where do you want to be? Who's your spouse? What where do you live, like all of the different things. And so at the time, I wanted to work in media and sports. And so ESPN was in Connecticut. And
Sure
I wanted to come here. And from there, it just stuck, like I said. And so now I'm here in Connecticut.
So you had Connecticut in your mind then, looking for law school. You know you want to come to the East Coast, so you turn to Connecticut, and you found Quinnipiac. What was it like, that transition from Oklahoma communications, the experiences you had there, internships, et cetera, to now coming to law school? What was that transition like?
That transition was definitely interesting. It was not only like academically different, but socially for me. I like to think Connecticut is very similar to Oklahoma. I think the biggest difference is the people.
Do you think we're a little rude in Connecticut, maybe?
I wouldn't say rude, just not overly polite,
Okay.
which is what you're going to get a lot of the time when you're in Oklahoma. And so it was just very different in that regard. But, coming to Quinnipiac is really where I found my community. And, automatically I feel like when you go into a school, those are like your people, and especially for law school, you're in the same classes with, the same 50 people all day long.
Sure.
And so you really have no choice but to, make friends and blend in.
Was there a mentorship program or some other way you got engaged when you first got here? Like, how did you just get to know the community that you'd be joining?
Yes. So Quinnipiac Law School has a day one mentoring program, and they partner you with an upperclassman. So whether that's a 2L, 3L, 4L, before you come in. And so I had a mentor who was from Nebraska. So she also dealt with the big transition into law school and different social environment.
And housing too, right?
And
so you're trying
housing.
to establish yourself outside of your academics as well.
Yes, exactly. And so I was, pinging questions to her, and she was always very helpful. And again, helping me find housing and things like that, because I definitely did not have housing when school started, which was a crazy thing. But I mean, it all worked out.
Nerve-wracking. You came up here with your dad, so I'm sure the two of you obviously figured out, and it was a growing experience there. Are there any student organizations, now that you're in your third year, that you've been able to take part in the School of Law, and how have those kind of connected back to the things that you're learning in the classroom?
Great questions. Yes, so I am a part of BOLSA, the Black Law Students Association, and they were, a really big part of helping me find resources at the school when I first got there, and, they became my community. I'm also the president of the Student Bar Association, so that's been really great, just, checking out different leadership styles and being a part and being able to lead like our body of students pretty much, and, talking to them and talking with administration. But to answer your question, like, how does that connect back to the classroom? I think it connects back to the classroom in just being able to basically take what we are learning from these organizations and really just being familiar with people. I think that's
Sure.
one lesson that I've learned. The more and more you become familiar with people, the more you become comfortable in the classroom. And I think that's a really big thing, especially when you're being cold called on and, you're learning a vastly different subject than you've probably ever have before. I would say one of the other clubs that I'm a part of is the Sports and Entertainment Law Society, and I have an interest in that. And so I think that club is also helpful, going into the classroom, because I'm able to meet and network with people in those industries as well.
It sounds awesome. It's definitely an interest of yours, and the ability to connect that to your academics sounds like a great opportunity. Speaking of academics and connecting to what you learn in your classes, what have your classes been like? Are they what you expected for law school? Is there any class in particular that you're really fond of or not fond of, but maybe we'll stick with the ones that you're really fond of? What's your experience been like?
Law school was a whole different ball game. I think before coming to law school, talking with friends and family friends who have been to law school, they were like, oh, it's easy. Don't worry about it. People who say they don't have like, a work-life balance school-wise, like, don't listen to that. And then I get here and I'm like, wait
Easy
a second.
where?
Easy
Balance
where?
where,
I'm
yeah.
like, who are you people? You guys are a different breed, because this is wild. So the adjustment to the classroom was definitely different, just in terms of like, you don't have a test per module that you have like you may have had in undergrad. And so you were really just testing your knowledge at the end of the school year. So it's really testing how you navigate, which was going to be helpful when you go out into the real world. Like, to make sure that I was learning, I had to schedule meetings with my professors and go in there periodically to make sure, like, hey, I'm retaining this information.
Was that an easy process to meet with your professor? I would imagine so, because of the class sizes, right? The smaller class sizes give benefits that you can meet with your professors.
It definitely is easier because the class sizes are smaller. I would say that I probably did not take full advantage of it like I should have my 1L year, but it is a very easy process. They all have office hours, so you know when they're going to be there. And most of the professors are great. They have like an open door policy, so you just pop in, you say, hey, whether it's about the class or, just, you want to talk and catch up. Like, they're all pretty great over there.
As part of your law school experience, you've had some internships, right, and other placements. Where have you interned so far?
Yes. So I interned with the Connecticut House Democrats. So there. I also interned with Shapega, Daly, Pope & Perry, which is an trust and estates firm. And also I interned with Professor Cassini, who has Cassini Legal Advisors, and he works in entertainment.
And what have been some of the things that you've done in your internships that you've maybe have stuck with you and you've taken away as you look to form your career in law moving forward?
I think one thing really that has stuck with me is, again, like, it's going to ask your professors, it's asking your supervisors, like, hey, where do I turn? Especially like as an intern, sometimes law, like in the classroom, is a lot different than law in the real world and like how you're supposed to apply those things. And so many of times it was like, hey, they may look like they're super busy, but it's stopping your supervisor and saying like, hey, I need a little help. I need some direction. Like, where do I turn to find this? And really just taking the like what we learned in school about like researching all of that and kind of just making sure I know not everything, but like having a basis for what I'm talking about before I go to the supervisor, because of course they are super busy. Is
there a specific faculty member you want to shout out that maybe helped you kind of get that confidence or perspective about going out into your internships?
I would say a faculty member who gave me the confidence really is Millie or Dean Vandenbroek.
Sure, in the career development office.
In the career development office. She's been really great, and, I pop into her office from time to time and talk with her about, what my internship experiences have been, and she's always good on helping me find, like, the best perspective out of it and taking lessons from them, so she's great.
So all of these experiences you've had in law school, between the academics, your student involvement activities with the Career Development Office, and your internships, how have all of these come together to help you maybe narrow in on the field of law you want to study and just make you a well-prepared professional? Is there have you narrowed it down yet to a specific field?
Yes. So narrowed it down, yes. A specific field, no. So I still have an interest in intellectual property, which is what I came into law school thinking that I wanted to do. But, as I was telling you about the different experiences that I've had in all of my externships, it kind of showed me what I didn't want to do and helped me pick out, like, the specific things, like, the joyous parts of each of those internships, and kind of, like, helped me to research more and more of, like, specifically what I want to do, whether that's be a transactional lawyer, be a litigation attorney. Yes, I want to be a litigation attorney and, like, be in the courtroom and things like that. Yes.
What piece of advice would you give to someone who maybe isn't sure if law school is the path for them, but they just need a little bit of encouragement to get started? What would you say to them looking back on your journey so far?
Looking back on my journey, I would definitely say if you put your mind to it, you really can do it. Coming to law school for me and being so far away from home, it was a huge adjustment. I'm a very family-oriented person. And so when you get to law school, it's really like you gotta hunker down and do the work. I wouldn't say it's easy, like the people told me, but it's very doable. You know, if you go in and talk to your professors, you know, find some friends, get a friend group who's going to help you to study and keep you accountable. I would say if you're unsure, do it.
Reach out. Come to an open house.
Reach out. Go to an
campus.
open house. Yes, definitely. Like, it seems scary to maybe like cold email or send a message to someone on LinkedIn, but like those are the things that are going to help you find that you want to do this thing. And that's really what I did. And I was able to ask questions to people who were practicing attorneys and ask them like, hey, when you went into law school, is this what you thought you were going to do? And are you happy with like what you were doing now? Like, what keeps you going? What keeps you motivated? And so, yeah.
And at the end of the day, send you a message on LinkedIn and connect with you about your law school experience.
Please send me a message on LinkedIn.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on the show today, sharing your experience in law school, and good luck with the rest of your studies.
Thank you so much, Joel.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and share, and find other episodes on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Until next time, when I ask my next guest, who are you? I'm Joel Vanner. Bye for now.